Hey, what's up everybody? This is Todd Bowen from sittingposture.com. Welcome to today's video, how to sit at a computer with good posture. Thanks for joining me. I value your time and I promise I will make it as worthwhile as possible. We all sit at an office computer for a living, and the last thing we want to do is waste time. We've got too many emails coming in, too many tasks to take care of, and posture to worry about. So that's why we're here today. Computer posture can be a very boring and a painful topic. I try to create open-minded, free content that is relatable and easily actionable. Quick note before we get started, the info in this presentation is not medical advice. It's based off my experience and my opinions. I talk about good habits that have helped me live a higher quality, sedentary lifestyle. Do your research, make good decisions, and be the best possible advocate you can be for your own healthcare. The specific goals of my channel are to help the user decrease pain caused by sitting at a computer. That's always going to be number one for me. Increase energy, improve mental clarity, and increase work productivity. A quick note about me. My name is Todd Bowen. Like I said, I've got an information technology degree. I have studied topics such as workstation ergonomics as well as user experience, lifelong athlete and exerciser, as well as lived a sedentary lifestyle for more than the last 20 years. Here's a quick look at my website, sittingposture.com. I post an article on there every week, usually on Thursdays or Fridays. If you want to, you can download a computer posture checklist. This is how to sit at a computer with good posture. You can just go to the top toolbar here and click onto that. You can also sign up for an email newsletter. I only send one email a week. I don't spam everybody, just one a week. Usually on Fridays, and what I will do is I will put the article, the beginning of the article that I wrote that week, as well as last week's article for anyone who wants to miss it or revisit it. And I post 2 YouTube videos a week, so I will also put links to those in that weekly email. Basically, whatever I created that week will go into that email once a week. So go there and sign up if you'd like. And moving on to our first picture, let's look at, obviously we got a lot of curvature going on in the spine here. I talk often about what triggers this. Like this is not just, all this doesn't just happen at the same time. Something causes something else to happen, which is a chain reaction to cause something else to happen. So in my opinion and in my experience sitting at a computer, the internal shoulder rotation of reaching for a keyboard and a mouse is what sets off a chain reaction, which what causes his spine to curve like that. Now in this situation, it looks like the keyboard and the mouse is in a good position. His elbows are just above the keyboard, and the mouse might be a little bit too high because and obviously he doesn't have armrest to support his elbows. So that could cause a lot of tension in the shoulders. So we're looking at internal shoulder rotation here. His elbows are supported by his shoulders, so his shoulders aren't relaxed, they're really hunched up. And what that does, it causes him to lean forward and compress that spine, which is called kyphosis. And it causes him to lose that curve right there in the thoracic area. And then what happens there is he loses the curve in the lumbar area, down the lower back. So all this is a chain reaction, and it can be avoided by a couple variables. First, like I said, the elbows should be just above desk level. These look like they're a little bit high, like I said, but nonetheless, they're not below desk level. That's what we definitely want to avoid. We want to avoid having our elbows below the desk level because that causes all kinds of issues. His shoulders are not internally rotated too much. If they are, it's not very noticeable. He's got his head up above his torso, towards the front side of his torso. If you look at the thoracic curve is there, all the natural curves in the spine. His lumbar curve's intact. Legs are parallel to the floor. Lower legs perpendicular to the floor, and his feet are flat on the floor. We'll talk more about that in a future slide, but that's very important to keep feet flat on the floor when we're working at a computer for a long period of time. Okay, over here, let's look at the middle picture first, just so we can get it out of the way, because we've already kind of talked about it. He's got that forward lean going on, that forward compression of the anterior side of the spine, anterior meaning the front side of the body, posterior meaning the back. He's got that forward lean going on, kyphosis in the upper back. He loses the curve in the thoracic spine, and also loses the natural correct curve in the lumbar. So it's just a big C shape almost. Going over here, we've got the exact opposite. So this guy probably thinks he's sitting up straight. Somebody probably told him to sit up straight, and what happened was he sat up too straight. So he engages that lumbar area too much. He's got a curve there, but it's too much. So what it does is it puts just way too much pressure here, deactivates the abdomen too much. So those muscles weaken and lengthen as he leans back like that. And everything up in here, this is the worst. This just gets super, super tight. So this is known as lordosis, or sway back in that lower back. As he sits up too straight, he's overextended that. He's overextended his spine here, and it's kind of compressed on the posterior side, but on the anterior, it's overextended. What we want is, let's look at the third picture over here. We want a neutral, balanced spine, even though you can't see his spine here. This is a neutral position. He's got that lumbar curve there, and he's got that thoracic curve up there that comes out just a little bit in the back. Head is over the torso. And this is a pretty good position here. Legs are parallel to the floor, upper legs almost perpendicular to the floor here. Feet are flat on the floor. So that's a good summary of that there. Okay, this is a good one that I want to talk about. This happened to me. So I mentioned earlier, the number one we want to make sure we don't do is put our elbows below desk level. Because what that's doing is it's causing all these elbow tendons in here. It could cause tennis elbow, what's commonly known as tennis elbow. There's a lot of tendons in there, and if they're engaged for long periods of time, 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, that could really tighten those up, and those are very stubborn, and it's very difficult to get those healed and working properly. Another issue it could cause is something called ulnar nerve entrapment, which is something that goes on in the elbow. And I suffered from that. My dad actually suffered from that. He didn't work at a computer desk, but he drove a truck and a crane. So he was constantly shifting gears, holding a steering wheel. He always had those elbows, tight and at more than a 90-degree angle. So he had some issues with that. Ulnar nerve entrapment is kind of similar to carpal tunnel syndrome in the wrists. We've all heard of that. And we'll talk about that more later in a future slide. But ulnar nerve entrapment is kind of like overuse of the wrists. So we want to make sure one way to greatly avoid, I would say avoid that, or at least greatly reduce it, is to make sure that the elbows are just above desk level, like she has them here. So it looks like she lowered her desk down, or she raised her chair, one or the other. If she would have raised her chair, probably would have took her feet off the ground. So, but what she could have done there is have some kind of footrest here to keep her feet on the floor. But it looks like she was able to lower her desk here. So what that does is effectively, and she raised her monitor, note that for sure. If she lowers her desk, that would have put her monitor here. She raises her monitor, so her monitor is at eye level. That's a very important variable. Make sure your eye level is at the top of the monitor, whether you're sitting, standing, and also your elbow level is just above the desk, whether you're sitting or standing. Okay, here's another one. I just talked about this. Whether you're sitting or standing, eye level to the top of the monitor screen on both. This guy in this picture has got a 90 to 100 degree angle on his elbows. It's okay here. I think it's okay because he's taking advantage of this back support. But if he wasn't taking advantage of this back support, I would say that that's kind of extending a little bit too far forward. I would want my arms to be a little bit more relaxed. This guy's obviously in a perfect chair, being able to use these armrests, which is very hard to find. Normally armrests get in the way like they do here. You can see that's a good point here. If this armrest wasn't here, he'd be able to slide his chair under the desk a little bit more, but he can't do that because the desk is blocking the armrest. So it's a difficult situation to be in. I've actually written an article about the problems of using an armrest had caused me of an office chair. That article, I'll put the link in the show notes, but I believe it can be found at sittingposture.com/armrest. And over here, he's got the same thing going on. I would think that he would need to lower the desk just a little bit so he could drop that elbow back, and he could get a little bit closer to the desk as opposed to extending like that. Not a bad position if you just want to work in it for a few minutes to get into a different position, but I definitely wouldn't work like this all day, 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, because what it'll do is the shoulders just aren't relaxed. They're engaged. This engages back muscles. The arms are working a little bit too much to get into that position. All right, here's a good example. Earlier I talked about the natural curvature of the spine. So in this one, we can actually see the natural curve of the spine. You can see how that head is supported. The spine in the neck, which is known as the cervical region, is straight up and down. Then you got that thoracic curve, which is very important. Like I said, that internal shoulder rotation here from grabbing a mouse and a keyboard normally causes this to slouch forward, but this guy is doing a good job of it. It goes down into a lumbar curve here, and legs, upper legs parallel to the floor, lower legs almost perpendicular to the floor, and his feet are flat on the floor, so this is good. Okay, here we go. So this is what I'm talking about, that internal shoulder rotation by grabbing that mouse and that keyboard. It's good that he's got this sliding tray, so the keyboard and the mouse are not up here, because what would likely happen is his elbows would be below the desk if his keyboard was up here. That's probably, typically the chair is as high as it goes. So that's why he's got that sliding tray. And when he does that internal shoulder rotation, that sets off that chain reaction. His neck is not perpendicular to the floor. It's almost at a 45-degree angle in his spine. His head is in front of his upper body, which it takes incredible amount of neck muscle to support your head all day long when it's not in front, and when it's in front of your upper body, when it's not straight above your upper body. And then it also sets off that compression of the anterior side of the spine, inflammation, overextension on the back side of the spine, on the posterior side. So the forward side is compressed, the back side is overextended. Over here, he's got a decent little lumbar curve intact still. But obviously what I would do is I would definitely move my seat a little closer, and that could solve a lot of things for him. Oh, one more thing I want to mention about this picture before we move on. Notice how this foot is pretty flat on the floor, which is good. This foot, man, this is speaking from experience right here. This is going to cause a lot of issues if you sit in this position for 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. Notice how what it's doing is it's compressing the front tendons and muscles in the shin. There's a muscle that runs, I believe it goes from the inside of the foot across the shin over to the top outside of the shin. Very strong muscle that helps us lift our foot up and down. It's called the tibialis. So what he's doing is he's compressing that and just constantly engaging it all day. And then in the back, his Achilles, his soleus muscle up here, which is a very thick, tough muscle. I think it might be very tendinous, because the calves are the main muscles in the back of the lower leg. But anyway, either way, he's overextending all that back here. So what that's going to do is cause a lot of dysfunction. And this is a good position to be in if you're weightlifters are in this position all the time. Athletes, when they jump or squat down, are in this position all the time. So that's fine, but it's not a good position to be in if you're sitting there for a long period of time, because what it does, our muscles just react. They're like a rubber band. If you pull them, they're going to bounce back. But if you pull it and you hold it for many, many hours, you're going to stretch out that rubber band, and it's going to cause pain, inflammation, and dysfunction in this joint, in the ankle joint, as well as in the knee joint. So that's very important here. That's very important that when we're sitting at a desk for a long time, we keep our feet flat on the floor in a balanced, and our ankles in a balanced and neutral position. Just looking back to the picture I've already, right before that slide, we talked about this one already. Feet flat on the floor, natural curvature in the spine. Everything looks pretty good there. Okay, let's talk about a few examples of what we do not want to do. Obviously, she's looking down at a laptop screen, very hunched forward. Her arms are flared out to the side a little bit. She could solve a lot of this by putting an extended monitor up. I talk about that a lot in my other videos. I'm surprised it's the first time I brought this up in this video. An extended monitor, all she has to do is run an HDMI cable out of her laptop into a monitor that just plugs into the wall, and then she can sit back, and then her monitor, the top of her screen would be eye level. She could also pull this keyboard back, pull this monitor back a little bit in that case, so she wouldn't have to lean forward to see that. And also, when you plug in an extended monitor, typically what happens is, or you can set it up this way. You've got two screens. You've got a secondary screen down here in case you want to keep something down there. But what you want to do is you want to mainly keep your focus on that upper extended monitor, and that's automatically going to pull her back in her seat, and it's going to correct a lot of issues that she's doing right here. Probably even correct her elbows being flared out to the sides away from her upper body. If not, she could just raise her seat just a little bit. Another one here, same thing. Extended monitor would do a big help. She's got her arms way in front of her body. They aren't flared out too much. Well, that one's flared out. You can tell that one's flared out to the right, away from her body. She would definitely want to pull that keyboard back closer to her, or even get an additional external keyboard and an external mouse, and take that HDMI cord, run it from here into her extended monitor, get a permanent monitor there. And even that's just for a full-time ergonomic position, right? Maybe she's just visiting this office. Maybe she's just working here for an hour or two. That's fine. But even if she is just working here for an hour or two, what I would do is I would raise this chair up a little bit, because that's going to allow her to pull this laptop closer to her and sit straighter up. But you can see that issue with that armrest again. It's going to hit that table, so that's going to cause another issue. Moving on to the next one. Here's a setup. This is the external monitor I was talking about. They might have this wirelessly connected somehow. But anyway, HDMI cable just runs out of the side of the laptop into that. And what they have here also is an external keyboard that I really like the looks of. What I would do is I would take this laptop, move it off to the side. I would use that as little as possible, and I would use this external keyboard. I would pull it all the way to the desk here. I would pull this external mouse, which is good that they have. I would pull that a little closer to the edge of the table as well. But this is a decent setup. A few things going very right here. This guy, we can't see his complete upper body, but I do want to mention a few things. He's got the external monitor, which is awesome. He's got the secondary screen down here, which he probably doesn't look at too much. This is his main focus here. You can tell his eyes are straight at the top of the monitor screen. His head looks like it's in decent position. Might be leaned forward a little bit. It's hard to tell because you can't really see his full torso. But one other thing I want to mention, his mouse is way forward. So you can see how his left hand's in one position on the table, and then his right hand is a full 6 or 8 inches ahead of it. So that's going to cause a twist in everything. And his spine, if the spine does something, it has a chain reaction to the rest of the body. So he's doing a few things right here, but also I'd pull that mouse back. I'd get a flatter external keyboard, because what caused carpal tunnel syndrome on me was not necessarily the action of typing. It's the action of engaging that wrist. It's engaging that wrist so your hand pulls backwards towards your body just to get those fingers onto that keyboard. So when I switched from a keyboard like this, a big bulky keyboard, to a flatter external keyboard, my carpal tunnel went away in days. It was pretty eye-opening. And here's one here. So I want to talk about, over here she's got a footrest, so that seems appropriate here, because she raised her desk from this improper, and raised her desk and raised her chair from this improper sitting location. Again, she's leaning forward. She is at eye level, even though she's still slouched to lean forward. This desk is too low. This desk is high enough. You know how you know that is because she's leaned forward. Look at her upper arms here are at a 45-degree angle. These are at almost a 90-degree angle to the floor. And this is a good position. Elbows are just a little bit above the desk. I would raise this monitor up a little bit over here so that she can look at the top of the monitor screen, because every fraction of an inch that you look down and hold your head in that position for 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, could cause a lot of issues, especially in the back of the neck. It's going to tighten the muscles in the front of the neck. They're going to become compressed, and the muscles in the back of the neck are going to become overextended. So anything that happens on each side of the body, compressed on one side, overextended on the other side, is going to create pain, inflammation, dysfunction in a joint or a neck or a spine. And we've got one more picture here that I want to talk about. This is a really good picture. It's very simple. It's got the eye level at the top of the monitor screen, the 90-degree angle, the elbow is just slightly above the desk, and another 90-degree angle here on the legs, which I kind of like. If anything, the legs could go out just a little bit. I would definitely not bring those legs. I would definitely not decrease this angle anymore going this way, because what that does is that overextends the quads, lengthens the quad tendon, and lengthens the tendon that takes the kneecap down to the shin. All this up here is getting overextended and lengthened, right? And then when you get down here to that tibialis and those tendons and muscles down here that reach the top of the foot, those are getting compressed, those are getting activated. So you got all these muscles up here on the top of the leg, knee, just below the knee, they're getting overextended. And then down here, all of a sudden, we're compressed. So that's an incredible dysfunction over long periods of time for the anterior side of the body. And not to mention, we haven't even talked about the posterior side of the legs. If you bring it back here, that's contracting the hamstring even more. He's already got his hamstring contracted right there. To bend your knee at a 90-degree angle, it's already got some contraction in it. Not to mention the glutes are contracted that we sit on, so the hamstring is right next to the glutes, so that causes some compression there. And if it was angled back like this, this is where the overextension comes into place. So you've got compression here, overextension here, overextension, overextension, compression, and then you got compression, 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 overextension. So it's just an incredible imbalance there. It creates a lot of dysfunction, not in this position, but if he was to bring his foot back here and not have it at that 90-degree angle. So this is a good position here, flat, up and down, straight up and down. So that's it for today's video, how to sit at a computer with good posture. Thanks for watching. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You're taking a big step forward in improving the quality of your life, and that's definitely something to be proud of. If you want, I've got a bunch of free resources available in addition to my YouTube channel. Sign up for free email updates. Like I said earlier in this video, I only send one email a week, usually on Fridays. And what it'll do is it'll contain the article that I wrote for my website that week, and it'll also contain any links to any videos that I've posted on YouTube that week. Right now I'm writing one article a week for my website and doing 2 YouTube videos a week, which are posted on Wednesdays and Sundays. So if you want to sign up for that, go to sittingposture.com/newsletter. You could also go to my website and download a free computer posture checklist. Basically goes over all the steps of how to sit at a computer with good posture in detail. And that comes into a PDF form. It's available for free download. You can print it out easily, post it at your computer as a consistent reminder. Obviously, it's not something you're going to check every day, but you could reference it often, easily. And finally, subscribe to my YouTube channel. The more people that see my videos and the more people that subscribe to my videos, the more ability I'm able to create more content. So I really appreciate you guys if you could hit that like button for me. You'd also see more of my videos in your feed. If this video was helpful to you, it would mean everything if you could forward it to a friend or family member who sits at a computer full time. That's like the ultimate thank you I could give. I could receive for creating something, like I said, if this content had helped you out. So that's it for today, guys. Sittingposture.com. This is Todd Bowen. I'll see you guys on the next video. Thanks a lot. Take care.